Welcome to the fight game, Icewater and Puma. And I want to immediately talk about what I think is the fight of the year so far. Jermell Charlo versus Brian Carlos Castano. It was a KO in the 10th round. It seemed like Castano just kept coming forward, coming forward. He wanted all the smoke. And there were a few times where Charlo would kind of stop him in his tracks or back him up a little bit. But I think during the fight, when I was watching it, when Charlo decided to stop hanging on the ropes, that's when the fight got excited. And then he caught him with a shot that, Castano just never recovered from. But I love at the end of the fight where these fighters have a lot of respect for each other. You talk a lot of trash before the fight, but after you go through a battle like that where these guys were game, this young man from Venezuela really put on a show. Really didn't have anything to be ashamed of because he brought the fight, and it made Jermell kind of work for it to get it. And this was the first, the second of two fights, and so it seemed like Charlo Ice did not want it to go to the scorecards. He wanted a knockout.
Yeah, there's something about Jermell Charlo in rematches. He lost the first fight he had to Tony Harrison, and he came back and avenged that. But he and Derrick James, the trainer, got into the going to the gym, and I think they saw something. One of the major factors is you knew that Brian Castano was going to come forward, right? That's his job. He comes forward, he's going to swing for the fences. He's going to hurt you if you allow him to. But the changes that they made, one of the major changes I think that Charlo made was being able to improve his footwork, his movement, as you mentioned, getting off the ropes, but also being able to do damage and throw punches coming off the ropes, right? As you're moving, it's like he's coming toward me, bang! So he's like tapping him. Before he didn't do that in the first fight, that's where Castano kind of more or less dictated how things were going. But as he was chasing, Castano was chasing him this time, he's catching shots from Charlo. And that movement was amazing, being able to, a lot of boxers can't punch on the run.
Right.
Can't punch when they're moving. And he had that down to a science, to a point where, as you said, later on in the rounds, when he caught him, it was legit. And when he stood his ground, because there was after a point, probably like after round 6, where Charlo started to see openings.
Yeah.
So he didn't have to keep moving as much. And when he sat there, they say he sat down and started delivering combinations. Then it was just a matter of time before he took Castano down. Castano is a hell of a fighter. He's a great competitor. I think he has a great future. He can come into some big fights down the line. But you got to give up to Charlo, man, because that guy was giving him all he had. And Charlo, I think Charlo was feeling some kind of way because all he really wants is a little respect, right?
Yeah.
You want to say, I'm undisputed. Now what? Now what? It's like a little boy looking for approval from some people.
Yeah.
And I think that's what he did. And he clearly wanted. I was telling my other guys, they're like, "Oh, we're gonna have Castano by split decision." I was like, "Nah, dude, gonna stop him, man." I said, "Charlo's gonna stop him," and he did, because he was ready and prepared, and he had done the homework. He listened to his corner, and they came up strong, and he finished the job.
Yeah, I probably misspoke earlier. He's not from Venezuela; he's from Argentina. Right. And like I said, he has nothing to be ashamed of. This was a great fight, and it makes me want to go back and watch the first fight again. And because I was kind of leery when it was getting to the 10th round, it was like, are they going to call this another draw again? Because I had Charlo ahead, and when I'm doing my scoring on the fight, but you never know, and so it was a great fight. Now Charlo has the WBC, WBA, IBF, WBO, a world super welterweight title. Where does he go next?
Wow, that's a good question. A lot of people were talking about it, where Terrence Crawford already made his announcement that if he beats Errol Spence, then he wants Charlo next.
So, if he beats Errol Spence, that's a big if.
Yeah, he said he wanted to clean out the whole area, clean out their whole ring stable over there. But no, I think he has a couple things he could do. I mean, he could stay, relax, chill out for a minute, and or move up. I mean, his brother's at 160. Brother might move to 168. But if I was him, I mean, also too, you have the one kid that beat Lubin, Fundora.
Yeah,
Fundora will
he
be a
was out in
fun
the
fight.
crowd too. Yeah,
Well, it'll be a fun fight just to see because of whatever. It may not be the biggest money fight. Um, I would kind of wait things out to see how they happen, right? Kind of let the smoke clear. The other fight too that might be crazy, but if the winner of if they fight Spence and Crawford doesn't face this guy because he's been calling them out, this guy said he might jump from 147 to 154. So maybe we might get something crazy enough to happen where we get to see Jermell Charlo versus Boots Ennis at 154.
wow.
Yeah, Boots
Okay.
Ennis at 154. That would be interesting. Not sure if that's something Charlo would do, but if you keep calling out the names, he already, you keep calling out names, then you might get what you pay for.
Right, right, right. You had the fight on the undercard with Clayton and Ennis, Jerron Ennis, and it was a KO in the second round. What did you think about that fight?
Well, Jerron Boots Ennis continues to look fabulous, right? He looks great, very exciting. People keep talking about he just needs an opportunity. So the question is, what's next? Of course, he's called out Errol Spence. Then he told me going fishing with a big fish, but you got to wait your turn. So while you're waiting your turn, again, like I said, you can go to 154. He really wants to do that. I think part of it too is maybe at 147, the winner of that fight, if they do fight, may move up to 154. Errol Spence may retire. You never know what the hell is going on. But if Boots Ennis waits, the 147 titles could open up and it could just be his. All he has to do is dominate the new fighters coming up from that standpoint. There is one guy I like to see fight if he doesn't get the fight with the winner of Crawford Spence. That's Virgil Ortiz Jr.
Yeah.
Yeah, Virgil Ortiz. That would be a nice fight. Virgil Ortiz is a hell of a fighter. Two nice young guys coming in, banging at one another, because I think as much as I like Boots Ennis, I still need to see him challenged. I haven't seen that yet.
Okay. I know there were some cruiserweight fights that I know I didn't get to see because I was so locked into this particular fight. But and this Saturday, you have Benavidez who was fighting. And I know you've been a lot. I put something on TikTok where a guy said Charlo should fight Benavidez. And so I'm like, okay. I mean, but I tend to kind of fall on you as the matchmaker because Buddy McGirt said you're a great matchmaker on our show a few weeks ago. But what do you think about this fight with Benavidez and Lomax?
Yeah, well, Benavidez, you're going against Lemieux. It's one of those things where,
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, you're fine. Benavidez, though, it's this great opportunity for him, right? He kind of self-inflicted some things with failing test and not making weight and things of that nature. So the reason why he's not getting the shot that he thinks he deserved because people think the damage he's done to himself is self-inflicted. So you might be a great fighter, but you had the opportunity to do it and you blew it. So that's why a guy like Canelo Alvarez not really paying attention. Charlo is like, I'm not really pressed to fight you because what are you bringing to the table? So I think what he's going to have to do is keep winning. He has to win. He has to be very convincing in this win. And you keep winning in a nice fashion, then you might get a look. But you can keep talking all you want to. Doesn't mean you're going to get a shot. Of course, Charlo should fight him, but Charlo's like, what are the benefits of either Charlo fighting him?
Yeah.
What does he have? Does he have a belt? What are the benefits? So now it doesn't make dollars, it don't make sense. He had the opportunity, he blew it. So maybe down the line, he's kind of like talking earlier about Demetrius Andre. Andre has a belt, and he was thrown out of the Canelo press conference because nobody's paying attention. And unfortunately, that's why at least when it comes down to it, Benavidez does have another opportunity. You win this fight, maybe you fight somebody else, and maybe you might get a look. But for the Charlos, you might say they scared or whatever, But why would he risk giving you all these belts? Either one down at 154, the other brother at 160. Why would they risk this and you don't have anything to lose?
Right. So he outweighs this guy. He's taller than the Lemieux. Has a better knockout percentage than him. He should dominate this fight, but stranger things have happened in these fights. So, are there any other fights that we need to look forward to in the next week or a couple of weeks?
Yeah, one thing I'll say real quick about Lemieux. Lemieux has very dangerous hands. He has dynamite in his hands. If he catches you, it could be lights out. And that's why I think he's getting a lot more love than people want to say. And we don't know how Benavidez has come on, but Lemieux is an older guy from the standpoint, but he still has TNT in his hands. In regards to other fights coming up, May 28th is Gervonta Davis versus Rolando Romero. Something definitely interesting. Rolando Romero does not like Gervonta Davis, and he can fight. He's a tough guy and doesn't have a lot of fights, but he's tough and he throws real hard. June 4th, a must-see fight across the pond, George Kambosos versus Devin Haney. It's going to be a very difficult fight for Devin Haney. You're going across the water, and you're going against the guy that beat Teofimo Lopez. And if you think you're going to get a decision over across the pond, I got news for you. So it'll be interesting to see how does Devin Haney handle this adversity. It's a lot of adversity. So do you think you're talking about, oh, there was a robbery, as Bruce Ennis like to say? I wanted to get out real quick because it's a robbery, so I got it done there too. So Devin Haney's going to really find out what's going on with Devin Haney from that standpoint. So interesting times, a lot of good fights still coming up, and hopefully we'll get even more.
I want to mention another one that came across my screen. Laurie versus Gary O'Sullivan for the World Boxing Association World Middleweight title. I was a big fan of, and they're going to be fighting in the Barclays Center in Brooklyn in Showtime pay-per-view. I kind of rode with Laurie for a while, and then he started showing me some chinks in his armor. I want to kind of keep an eye on that. I'm not going to ask you about that fight yet, but I want to keep an eye on that fight to see whether or not he's going to make kind of a comeback and kind of really be a big fighter in that middleweight division, because he's kind of had lackluster performances in my opinion, and you can chime in at any time about Laura.
Yeah, well, the thing about Laura is a very difficult fight, right, for anybody, because he makes it ugly. He has a lot of great superior boxing skills. As you mentioned, he's showing a little chinks in the armor in regards to because of the age factor. But when he's on point, he's like a great Olympic boxer. Olympic boxers, the Cubans and whatnot back in the day used to be able to deliver great points because they were poignant in their striking. So like, oh, pop, pop. They're always on point. They had a lot of precision in throwing their punches, and that's what he does. So he has that style. It's very difficult to catch him, and if he's on his game, he can make it difficult for anybody. Ask Canelo.
All right. He's Icewater, I'm Puma, and this is Fight Game.